Hello children, this is the fourth lesson on rounding for Mrs Mitchell's Maths Group. Today we're going to look at rounding multiples of 10 again. So what we have here are some planets and each of the planets is a multiple of 10. 400, 410, 420, 430, 440. And we have some rockets. Each of the rockets will land on the planet that will round to that value on the rocket. So we have to round each of the rockets to the nearest 10, and that will show us which planet the rocket is heading for. So I want you to pause the video and have a go at working out which rocket goes on which planet. Okay, let's have a look. 395. That rounds to 400, so it goes on the 400 planet. 402 also rounds to 400, so it goes on the 400 planet. 408 doesn't round to 400, it rounds to 410, so it belongs on the 410 planet. 419 rounds to 420. 424 also rounds to 420. 425 rounds to 430, so it belongs on the 430 planet. 438 and 440, both 44, both round to 440, so they belong on the 440 planet. Our next job is to look closely at this picture. Hidden in this picture there are some numbers on the control panels. Your job is to find the numbers and write them down, and then round each number to the nearest 10. Pause the video and have a go. Okay children, so hopefully you found the following numbers. Hopefully in the picture you found 5, 15, 200, which I think is hiding down there, 581, 704, 99 and 0. So all the numbers. And we're going to round each number to the nearest 10. And this is what it should look like. These are the numbers rounded to the nearest 10. Look carefully and mark your work. Okay, we're going to look at a little bit of reasoning now. We've got two children here. We've got Iraj and Max. Iraj says that 156 to the nearest 10 is 150. Max says that 156 to the nearest 10 is 160. Your job is to work out who is right and then use a number line to show who is correct. Pause the video and have a go. Don't forget to write it down. Okay, so we can use a number line to help with this. Here's my number line. And we need 156 on the number line. 156. And then we need 150 on the number line. And we need 160 on the number line. So 156, is it closer to 160 or is it closer to 150? Well, I know that 155 would be absolutely in the middle. And I also know that 156 is bigger than 155, so it will round to 160. Another way of looking at that is to look carefully at the number. If I'm rounding it to the nearest 10, this is my target place, the tens place, and this digit here will tell me whether I need to round up to 160 or down to 150. It's a 6. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Climb the vine. So I have to round up to 160. So when we work out who is correct, it is Max who is correct. How did you get on? Okay, so we've got another activity here where we have to prove it. It says, who is correct? Prove it. Linda says 128 to the nearest 10 is 130. Charles says 128 to the nearest 10 is 120. Pause the video and work out who is correct. How did you get on? Again, we could use a number line to help us, and we could put on 128. And the next 10 after 128 is 130, and the previous 10 before 128 was 120. And we need to decide, is 128 closer to 120 or closer to 130? Well, 28 is closer to 30 than it is to 20, so it must be closer to 130. If we look at the number and we use our system, we know if we're rounding it to the nearest 10, then this is the place value that will help us, the tens place. And this digit here will help us work out whether I'm rounding up to 130 or whether we're rounding down to 120. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, climb the vine. So I know that I need to round up to 130. So the person who is correct is Linda. How did you get on? One more to try here. It says, Faye says 815 to the nearest 10 is 820. Sean says 815 to the nearest 10 is 810. Pause the video and have a think about it. Again, I think we can use a number line to help us to visualise this. We need 815 and the next 10 is 820 and the previous 10 is 810. Now, 815 is right in the middle. So we need to think about the number 815. We know that it's the tens place that we're rounding to. So I'm either going to round down to 810, I'm going to round up to 820. And it's the ones place that will help me work out whether I round down or whether I round up. Let's think of the rhyme again. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, climb the vine. And I've got a 5 here, so that means I have to round up to 820. Let's see who was right. Faye says 815 to the nearest 10 is 820. She is correct. Let's try our new one. Who is correct? Prove it. Dustin says 984 to the nearest 10 is 980. Ramea says 984 to the nearest 10 is 990. Pause the video and have a think about this. I'm going to start off by looking at it on a number line. So I've got 800 and 984, 984. And so I've got a 10 down here that is 980 and a 10 up here that's 990. And I've got to decide, is 84 closer to 980 or closer to 990? 84, so 984 is 4 away here and it's 6 away here, so I think 984 rounds to 980. Let's just check that. So this is the place that I'm rounding to. I'm rounding to the tens place. And this is the digit that's going to help me remember if I'm rounding down to 980 or up to 990. Well, this digit is less than 5. And if it's less than 5, I know I need to round down. So 984 rounds down to 980. Let's see who was right. Justin says 984 to the nearest 10 is 980. Justin is correct. Here's one for you to have a go at. Talk to a grown-up about this. The number represented by the place value counters that are hidden behind the splat can be rounded to 40. There are fewer than 8 counters. What could they be? Show all possibilities by drawing the place value counters. Have a go. So my number can be rounded to 40, but it's fewer than 8 counters. I won't have any 100 counters in there. Let's think about my number. So 41 can be rounded to 40, but it would only take 5 counters. 39 could be rounded to 40, but that would take 12 counters. Let's look at the other possibilities. This would take 11 counters. This would take 10 counters. This would take 9 counters. This would take 8 counters. So that might be one of the options. Let's have a look and see if we've got any others. So 42 can round to 40, and that would take 6 counters. 43 could round to 40, but it would take 7 counters, 4 tens and 3 ones. 44 could round to 40, and it would take 4 tens and 4 ones. So we've got 2 numbers here that will round to 40 using 8 counters. We've got 35 and we've got 44. Well done if you got that. Here's another one. Let's read it carefully. The number represented by the place value counters that are hidden behind the splat can be rounded to 70. There are more than 11 counters. What could they be? So this time we're looking for a number that is made using more than 11 counters. Well, let's start with 70. We know that 70 can be made using 7 counters. 69 would take 6 tens and 9 ones. So 69 would take 15 counters. There are more than 11 counters, so 69 could be one of my numbers. Using the same method, children, which other numbers could be represented under the splat? Pause the video and have a go. How did you get on? 68 will be 6 tens and 8 ones. That's 14 counters. 67 will be 6 tens and 7 ones. That's 13 counters. 66 would be 6 tens and 6 ones and would still round to 70, and that's 12 counters. 65 would round it to 70, It's 6 tens and 5 ones. So that would be 11 counters. And it says there are more than 11 counters. So we can't include 65 as one of our numbers. Well, 71 would round to 70, but it would only be 8 counters. 72 would round to 70, but that's only 9 counters. 73 would round to 70, but it's only 10 counters. 74 would round to 70, but it's only 11 counters. And 75 would not round to 70, it would round to 80. So none of these would help us. And we know that 70 wouldn't help us. So these are all the possible numbers that could be hidden underneath the splat. Okay, this is almost the last activity for today, and I've put it in because I want to see how quickly can you round these numbers to the nearest 10. So pause the video and do them as quickly as you can. Off you go. Okay, children, let's see how we've got on with this. 26 rounds to 30. 78 rounds to 80. 73 rounds to 70. 31 rounds to 30. 18 rounds to 20. 22 rounds to 20. 34 rounds to 30. 86 rounds to 90. 55 rounds to 60. 98 rounds to 100. 63 rounds to 60. 52 rounds to 50. And 42 rounds to 40. Well done if you got those. So the last thing we're going to do today is not about rounding, it's about working with our values. We're going to look at our times tables. Again, this is on the Topmarks website. So if you go to topmarks.co.uk, you'll find Hit the Button. And actually, there's any number of activities you can play on here. Some of my favourites are my times tables. There's also number bonds and doubles and halves. I'm going to look at times tables first. Okay, so here's Hit the Button on the Topmarks website. There's the Topmarks website. And we're going to look at times tables. I'm going to look at times tables up to 12. And we're going to choose the ones. Now, I don't want mixed ones just yet. No, I don't want the question, I want the answer. So you've got a choice of finding the answer or finding the question. And you've got a choice of mixed or a times table that we know quite well. Let's have a look at our fours. You'll be shown a calculation. You need to hit the button that shows the correct answer. And you have a timer and a score. Okay, so the calculation is 12 times 4. And I know 12 times 4 is 48. 5 times 4 is 20. 6 times 4 is 24. 4 times 4 is 16. 2 times 4 is 8. 10 times 4 is 40. 11 times 4 is 44. 10 times 4 is 40. 10 times 4, 3 times 4, 8 times 4, 12 times 4, 3 times 4, 12 times 4, 7 times 4, 9 times 4, 7 times 4, 6 times 4, 11 times 4, 2 times 4, 8 times 4, 2 times 4, 8 times 4, 2 times 4, 6 times 4, 10 times 4, 6 times 4, times 4. So in the minutes, I got 29 out of 29. Your job is to have a go and see if you can beat my score. Remember, we're looking at times tables up to 12 and we're practicing our fours. You could try the others as well if you want to. So that's all of our lessons for rounding completed. What I want you to do tomorrow is to look at some of the websites we've gone on before. So we did Hit the Button, and we've done Maths Frame, and we did the rounding rockets. So try any of those websites tomorrow and practice to see if you can get the best score so far this week. Next week, Mrs. Callahan will be doing your maths lessons with you. Bye for now.